Brian, it's Kevin. Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. 3.0 is roll call of all school board members, and we're all present tonight. So 4.0 is communication and reports. Start with the department head reports, superintendent.
Okay, and I think the first thing we have, we moved the audit up there. So, Brian, if you can hear us, Brian is online and we'll go through. Do we have the presentation put up or just, I was just
Do you want me,
thinking,
do you want me to share
just
my screen?
what's easy? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, see if we can get it on there for you. See it okay?
You should have it in board.
Perfect.
Okay. Ready to go?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Brian Stavanger, a partner with Eide Bailly, here to walk you through the results of the fiscal year 24 audit. This is a very high level overview of the audited results. There is a full financial statement that's several pages long, a lot of good detail, but in the uh, in the interest of time and understanding, we like to give this summarized version of that full audited financial statement. But certainly ask questions as I'm going through this. I'll pause periodically for those questions, as well as an opportunity for any added comments. Here we go. So a general overview, there's really a couple different standards that we follow. We follow the general audit standards, which is in any external audit that's performed, if it's a school district, a gas station, a manufacturing plant. Those are very standardized procedures. We also then follow government audit standards because of the federal and state dollars that flow through the district. It's an extra layer of really control and compliance testing that we do. And then finally, we follow the Minnesota Legal Compliance Audit Guide for School Districts. This is put out by the State Auditor's Office in conjunction with the Department of Education, really just having us focus on things like as if there's any new debt issuance, are you following the correct rules, conflicts of interest, pledged collateral, things of that nature. And then ultimately, what we are tasked with is to perform procedures and to be able to obtain that reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement, which I'll share those results with you in a couple slides, but we did accomplish that. Overall timeline, very similar to previous years, where we're wrapping this up in November, so really not a lot of significant change there. Here's ultimately the audit opinion. This is the important one here. A clean, unmodified audit opinion really means three different things. One, you're following the right accounting rules. Two, everything within the financial statements, that full audited financial statement document does not contain any material misstatements. And then all the required disclosures are in that audit document. So based on our procedures and results, get that clean, unmodified opinion. That's really what you want when you go through an external audit, what you've received historically, and hopefully what you continue to receive into the future. We also do a separate audit that's very much in conjunction with the regular financial statement audit. Anytime any entity expends more than $750,000 in their fiscal year of federal awards, it triggers this separate audit just on those federal funds. It's very compliance heavy, as well as looking at internal controls. So from the federal government standpoint, as they issue all of this money to various states and local governments, they want some level of accountability on an annual basis. And so that's what this accomplishes. In 2024, the district expended just under $2 million in federal awards. Related to that audit, also that clean, unmodified opinion, which is very good. And before we look at a few numbers, just to summarize the findings, which you can see in all three of those areas, we did not have any findings to report. So there is an opportunity when we look at the financial statements, when we do the federal audit, and as mentioned previously, when we do that Minnesota legal compliance audit or follow that audit guide. Those three areas all have opportunities to report findings. Happy to report that we did not have any. So before we look at a few numbers, just want to pause there to see if there's any questions from anyone or any added comments anyone would like to make.
Any questions from the board? No.
Okay. So I apologize. These are a lot of numbers. It's probably pretty small on the screen that you're looking at, but we do like to give a quick highlight of the general fund, your main operating fund of the district. You've got several other funds, debt service, dedicated to repaying debt, principal, and interest. You've got a building construction fund or capital projects fund for significantly sized projects, food service, community service, all of those also important funds, but your general fund is your main operating fund. The vast majority of the activity and the day-to-day activity flows through there. So we like to highlight this. Like I said, this has got a lot of numbers on it. First two columns represent budget columns. The far left is way back in the spring of 2023. You would have set your original budget. As you progress then through the fiscal year, you do have the opportunity to revise that really as many times as you want. Just taking in additional information as you learn and understand your student body and student counts, you can then adjust those revenues and corresponding expenditures. So that would be your final amended budget. The third column is the actual results, so the actual revenues and expenses that flowed through the general fund, and then the far right column is really what I will focus on, which gives you a good snapshot of how did you do compared to that final budget. So on the revenue side, a positive number there, meaning you took in more revenue than anticipated by just over $1 million. That was within about 3.9% of your final budgeted amount. Generally speaking, we like to see that within 5%. Revenues can be one, unpredictable, a little bit more unpredictable, two, a little bit uncontrollable. You may expect to receive something, but it is, you're reliant a little bit on third parties to collect revenues in a lot of instances. And three, just kind of your budgeting strategy. Do you conservatively budget your revenues? Not counting on the student count growing or whatnot, maybe be a little bit more conservative. So really all of that kind of leads to, if you're within 5%, we're going to be pretty happy from an audit perspective. You were within 3.9%, with really the vast majority of the variances coming in other local and county and state sources, really just a recognition of conservative budgeting, as well as state source budgeting, actual coming in a little bit more than what you had anticipated. So overall, very good on the revenue side. The expenditure side, even better. I challenge you to become get even closer to a 26, almost $27 million budget. You came within $18,391. A very, very good job there. You know, you look at the different categories, they're going to fluctuate. That is just going to happen. But the bottom line is you pretty much spent exactly what you thought you would. Spent a little bit more, but that's within 0.07%, which is really, really good. Generally, we like to see that within 2 to 3%, a little bit more controllable. You nailed it. You really did. So overall, in the general fund, you actually anticipated a bit of a deficit spend in the general fund, which is represented by this number here in parentheses. That was your anticipated or budgeted deficit. You actually came in a little bit, not a little bit, actually a lot better than you thought by about $1 million. You were able to then increase your fund balance. Your fund balance is really your ending reserves that you can utilize going forward. We'll look at a graph that kind of illustrates that, but about 4.8 million in fund balance or reserves in the general fund at the end of the fiscal year. So overall, wonderful results. Great job budgeting. Really phenomenal when it comes to the expenditure budget. So before we move on, I'll pause to see if there's any questions or comments on the general fund. Okay,
No
just a
question.
couple more slides. This one also has a lot of numbers. This is really just taking a look at really your fund balances at the beginning of the year. Fund balances are reserves. This is broken down into all of those other different funds. You've got general fund, food service, community service, building construction, and debt service. It just takes you from the beginning of the year, lays out all the activity, and then you have the end of the year balance. So not really going to spend much more time on this slide. Just like to point it out, it also is in the full audited financial statement, so you can take a closer peek if you'd like. Last slide with content on it anyways, is to take a look at the fund balance in the general fund. What we're going to focus on is the what's termed the unrestricted fund balance. That really means there's no external restrictions. So at the end of each year, you do have a portion of those reserves are restricted into the future to be only utilized on specific items, mostly related to state aid that you receive. So we really exclude those. The Department of Education, when they're analyzing fund balance, they exclude those. So really, this is a look at what do you have in those unrestricted fund balance amounts as a percentage of your annual operating expenses or your budget. Your target really is about 15%. And then you've got some parameters. Really, you don't want it to fall below 8%. This is all your internal policy. And you really strive to keep it less than 25%. Consistency, I would say, is the name of the game here. You are either just above your target of 15%, or really for the last 2 years, you are right on target. So what we like to see here from an audit standpoint, from an external standpoint, is we don't like to see a lot of fluctuation. That can really mean you're kind of yo-yoing that budget. You're having a lot of expenditures one year, you're backing them off the next. Probably not the most healthy way to operate a school district. So nice to see some consistency here. Really between that 15 to 20% for the last 5 years. So very, very good job sticking to your policy, and very consistent as well. So I'll pause again for any final questions or comments. And if not, my last slide just is a thank you. So I'll pause there to see if there's anything else.
Any questions from the board?
One, Brian, when we're looking at that pattern going all the way back to 2020, is the patterns, we were above that 15% for a couple of years, but was that more federal? Does that just mean more federal monies that were coming in after COVID? And then we look at 23 and 24, we can just make the assumption that those federal monies, why it's showing this is those federal monies are bleeding out now.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great observation, and you've pretty much nailed it. In most school districts, this is the pattern. If we were to be able to go back 10 years, I would suspect that prior to 2020, it was probably right around 15%. So yes, absolutely. There was a 2 to 3 year period there with all of the COVID money, the different pandemic funds that were flowing through the school district. Yeah, and then as those ran out or as those were spent, kind of back more to what I would call a more of a normal operation, not relying so much on those one-time and fairly significant funds. So absolutely, great observation, great point, and really kind of more back to normal is what I would call it now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one thing I guess I would throw, we haven't had a ton of time to look at this, and obviously there's pieces you want to look at, why is this above or below? One piece to point out though is if you look at school readiness, which was deficit the last several years, and obviously with VPK funding, that should help. Doesn't mean there isn't room to improve, clean things up, but we're how do you want to say it, cautiously optimistic that in and of itself could make a significant difference in that fund. So,
It's definitely a good pattern to see. Any questions? Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I will make sure to stop sharing if I can find it. There we go.
and then of course the audit does get actually approved later on in the
Yes.
agenda. So just make sure. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you okay if I continue on then? So, first off, on the same note, I would thank Carla and her team. The audit process is a workload in and of itself. So, appreciate that and everyone that put stuff forward. Winter activities up and running. Wish them all the best of luck. I don't know if any of you got to attend the fall musical this past weekend. It was unbelievable. My daughter and I went, and from where I came from, we didn't have numbers. We can do one act play, some of the smaller, but the musical, in my mind, was awesome. So hats off to all those people involved with that. We are still searching for a fourth grade position for the person leaving us. So we're gonna keep working, but it's getting closer. We also have a long-term sub that, at one of the elementaries, we're still looking for a person. Just to give you a heads up, we very possibly are going to go after, there's a social worker we're aware of that could be graduating, and we haven't been able to fill a special ed position. We have Illuma doing some. We're actually going to lose that person in February. So we may go after, like I say, if you see a posting in the near future, we're going to see if they're interested or not. We would hire them not so much for social work, but they can use their services to do the emotional and behavioral pieces that are in IEPs. So it would be, they couldn't be case manager, but they would provide services. So it may be an option, trying to be creative, keep you in the loop. December 4th, there is phase 1 training in Erskine, back in person. Our 2 new board members are signed up, and I'm going to go with them that evening. I'm going to throw it out again. MSBA is January 16th and 17th. I'm going to just open-ended. I know one has said they're going. If anyone else, if you are or if you aren't, I reserved a certain number of rooms, and obviously at some point by the end of December, we either have to get rid of them or keep them. And so look at that. You'll see 2 policies on the agenda tonight. We got a handful from MSBA that they recommended, said did not need to be reapproved. And that's why I'm just pointing them out, because they're just like, one has a statute, just the number change. And then the other one was the link is no longer active. So there's nothing, but I just wanted you, if we update it and someone goes, well, we never had a policy. Yeah, that's what's being done with those. Where am I at here? Couple things, I'm just going to hit on the committees as we're at it right now. District Health and Safety did meet on November 14th. We have some things we're working on there. There's some things that are bigger issues that, I shouldn't say issues, bigger planning, like replacing cameras. That's just not a fixed thing. There's some doors, locks, cleanliness, things that we're working on now, but met with that group. Negotiation committee met on a couple items today. Transportation, you'll see a couple items on the agenda tonight. We didn't actually meet, but had conversation with the 3 people. We're making a recommendation based on, there is a, what do you want to call it? Inventory of our buses and vehicles there, and recommending to get a used bus to get going and then get a bus ordered. And the last thing is, with not being in school for Thursday and Friday, I don't plan on doing an update this week. So just kind of giving you a heads up. It's obviously always available. So That's what I have at this time unless there's questions.
Any questions for Kevin?
No.
So we'll move on to the American Indian Education Coordinator. Dara?
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Yes.
All right. I just really want to start off with a compliment to Dara. She stepped in and has stepped it up big time. We had a great Indigenous Peoples' Day. She put out a ton of resources to staff to get that launched. And we had the largest Halloween powwow we've ever had. So it was really well attended, over 200 people. So it was great. So just with that, but to get us started, I just wanted to say that Governor Tim Walz had signed into legislation last year, the Indigenous Education for All students. And really what that was about is the standards have been in reading and social studies and science since about 2017, where we are to be teaching about the American Indian history and their contributions to society. And there just hasn't been really very good resources. And when our literacy committee met, the elementary committee met, one of the things they had talked about was, hey, we don't even have books that are written by Native American authors. We don't have these things. So when we brought that back to the American Indian parent community group, they said, hey, we'll get some books. And we have a really nice set now of books that we can utilize in schools that are in the libraries and available. And Dara has some sets that she can use as well when she's going in and teaching. So, you know, it's about us working together and taking all of these great things and putting them into place. And we've been really fortunate that our American Indian parent group has supported us 100% in making this come alive, because not only have the resources not been there for teachers, but also how do I do this and make sure I'm being culturally sensitive? So the education piece too, they've supported with Ricky White. So that's what this is about tonight. We're going to talk about this aid and how this all helps our kids.
So it's the time of year that the aid application is due. We met with the parents, heard what they wanted, came up with the application, brought it back to them, they approved it. And so now we're just talking about it and wanting everyone to know. It's through the Minnesota Department of Education. When you start out with 20 AI students, you get a base award of $40,000, and each additional student brings in $500. So that's where the amount of funding comes from. The purpose of the grant is to support post-secondary preparation for our American Indian students, support the academic achievement, make curriculum relevant to the needs, interests, and cultural heritage, provide positive reinforcement of the self-image, develop intercultural awareness among pupils, parents, and staff, and supplement state and federal education and co-curricular programs. So our SMART goals for this year, based on what the parents wanted, by the end of the 24-25 school year, 100% of our American Indian students in grade 12 will be prepared for post-secondary success through consistent college exposure, mentorship, and individualized planning as measured by the American Indian portfolio that they will be working on to get them prepared. During the school year, 100% of teachers will be trained in Native American best practices. 100% of all teachers will utilize cultural teaching resources to make curriculum relevant to all American Indian students. 100% of all American Indian families will attend at least one of our cultural events. And 100% of our American Indian students and families will learn more cultural teachings and Ojibwe language and Dakota language content. Currently, we have 125 American Indian students, K through second, 34, third through fifth, 35. Middle school, 27, high school, 22, with 6 graduating, and school readiness, early childhood, 7 students. We work with Ricky White to infuse the American Indian teachings to ensure that we will meet these goals. So he is going to be doing a monthly virtual teachings with Ricky that will go out to all students or all classrooms. He is going to be giving weekly Ojibwe lessons to all of our American Indian families, and all students will get them quarterly. He's doing a PD for all employees to support AI coordinator and infusion of the standards. He will be emceeing the in-school powwow that we're going to do again this spring and other cultural events. He was at the Halloween powwow. And provide instruction to teachers on how to implement standards in the classroom, sharing quality resources and feedback. And he will be educating the students about the 7 grandfather teachings, which goes along with our SEL framework that we already do in schools. So our parents are happy, which means we're happy. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
How come the stretch goal? I mean, you have 100% for everything, which is awesome, but that's a stretch goal.
Mhm.
So what happens if you don't make it? So you have six AIs that are going to graduate,
Yes.
and only 5 are prepared. I mean,
Well, I think
what's going to happen after that?
we would revisit the plan, make the changes that we need to, you know.
I'm just curious why the goals are written at 100%. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Should it not be a little bit lower number and just try to, you know, if you have it at a lower number, I'm certainly supportive of this,
No,
but I'm just,
no.
when I see 100%, okay, well,
It's a stretch goal for sure.
then we need to make 100%. So
Well, that's what we're shooting for always, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
That's where we have to shoot for, Brandon. We just. have to.
usually when you write goals,
Yep.
you don't see 100%.
So-
That's your stretch goal, is to get to 100%. So that, I'm just challenging that. I support this
Yeah.
completely, but
We've never had.
what are you
to
going to do
rate-
if you don't make it?
Well, we've never had to rate these goals in this plan before. Ever.
Yeah, it's new.
I don't know that the parents were really, they were just, let's get them done.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't, you know, our graduation rates have been pretty high with our American Indian students. Where last year we were at 82%. Our overall
100.
graduation rate was 86%, but I think we would shoot for 100% of all our kids graduating every year.
Right, we do.
So-
Absolutely. I'm just-
So once we have a baseline and know what those are, I'm sure those goals will adjust. But this is new. There are some schools we talked to that the American Indian parent group said, we're not gonna put SMART goals in.
So I'm just curious, if you don't make that, what's the implications?
We don't lose
There's no
funding.
consequence.
We have to
That's
report.
what I was getting.
No.
So this is the group that's put it together and said, yeah, we're going for this.
We're going
Perfect.
for it.
Okay,
And-
Yeah.
that's what I was.
And I
that's
Would
what I was-
reevaluate and say,
Okay.
what can we do?
Sure.
You know, we didn't make this goal and we think we can, and we need to. So I think we would just make.
Oh, it's awesome. They put a lot,
Yeah.
you guys,
Support.
you guys in the group put a lot of time into it, and I
Mhm.
Yeah.
appreciate that. I
They
I
did.
just wanted to challenge that.
No, and that's fine. And I think, the other whole piece of this is we want to make sure that we are striving for the very best. And this year we have an opportunity to get carryover money. And that's why we're going hard with Ricky this year, and with Mark Mint, we also consult with. The Department of Ed likes when we bring in specialists. outside of the school to help us implement these things. So I think we've got a good plan. I'm excited to get feedback from them because it's adjusted and changed this year because of this Indigenous education for all. And I mean, they're pretty specific about that, you know, some of the parts that we need to be hitting, like the treaties, you know, all those parts and pieces. So we want to make sure we have good resources for teachers.
Any other questions? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, like,
All right. We're moving on to 5.0 consent agenda. Take a motion.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on the consent agenda? Anything pulled? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. 6.0 is opportunity for citizens to speak on items not on the agenda. I hear that we have some that want to speak on the agenda,
correct.
so we can hear those now. I just want to make all those aware. We do have a lot of visitors today. I think they're going to be talking about some of the services they might provide. We do usually ask for citizens to speak on items not on the agenda, but I understand the special circumstances, so we will allow representatives from those companies to talk. We are setting some ground rules, which we've done in the past when we've had people come talk on COVID and all of the like, where we give 3 minutes per person to talk, per party to talk. And we usually don't provide comment or questions at this point. We can save that for the agenda topic when we get there. So I'm assuming we have representatives who want to speak or no?
Yes.
If you want to come to the mic and introduce yourself?
Sure.
Brandon's my timer.
Perfect. Thank you for your time. My name is Brian Westland. I'm with Advanced Business Methods. I'm the East Region General Manager. Just real quick introductions. I got 5 other people with me. Kyle Jordet, Carrie Jensen, Changelink, Ron Van Raden, and Joe Kataska. 4 of those live in the East Side. All their kids went through this program, went through the school district. So we are employee owned. And so all of us are owners here, and this account means a lot to us. Talked with Kevin this morning at length, and I appreciate his call. And he told us that the committee has recommended to go away from Advanced Business Methods. We've provided copier service for the last 9.5 years. Let's see, I have lots of notes here, so I'm trying to get them done in 3 minutes. So I guess we'd just like you to reconsider the committee's recommendation. There was a couple concerns that Kevin brought to my attention. Number one was the Kyocera line that we quoted. We just picked up that line in January, and we feel that it's a good box, and with our service that it will be adequate for East Grand Forks schools. We put a performance guarantee on all of our equipment, so if it does not work, we will replace it at no cost to the district. There was another issue with paper cut. We've addressed that. What happened in this fall will not happen again. And I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar with these issues that happened right before school, but we'll take blame for that, and it will not happen again. Let's see. Just want to say that we do give back to this community. We have the employees that live in this community, been around for 53 years. And we feel that we've done a good job taking care of you the last 9.5 years, minus the issue right before school on our paper cut issue. So we'd like you to reconsider and take the low bid from Advanced Business Methods.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers this time?
Hi, good evening. I'm Hunter Baltima. I'm with Marco Technologies, sales manager for North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota. Here with Scott Beaton, who is a local account manager for Marco Technologies. And definitely would like to first just say thank you for the opportunity to have a seat at the table to put a solution together that, after hearing some of the concerns that the school district has had and faced through the start of the school year, we feel like we've put together a very strong, all-encompassing solution that helps provide the post support for any type of problems that should arise while having local service and support here based in Grand Forks with other members of the Marco team in the community and surrounding communities as well. Marco's been in business for over 50 years and has grown regionally with adoption of just technology, cybersecurity, copier, and solutions that go on top of that. And when you look at a lot of the long-term relationships that we've had throughout the years and have grown and earned over the years, it kind of goes back to just the thought of putting together a encompassing solution that might be a little bit different than what's being done today and historically being done to help school districts and businesses of the like to help reduce and minimize waste and cost in their environment. And we feel like the plan that we have put forth today will help do that ongoing for the school district as well. And in the long term, provide support in a low cost solution. So again, thank you for your consideration. Let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any other speakers for items not on the agenda? Great. 7.0 is to approve the agenda. I'll move. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.0 is district business. 8.1 is to approve the fiscal year 24 school district audit report as presented and attached, and as we heard from Brian today.
I will move to approve the audit.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on the audit?
No, I think Kevin just.
Yeah.
The root cause.
We will look for, you know, the big items, come back to you again. Well, I mean, there's two, wow.
Yeah.
It's a swing. My goal in the past has been 3% either way. Now,
Yeah.
keep in mind, 3% of a $30 million budget's 900,000. You know, theoretically, you know, if it flopped each way, revenue and expense, could be pushing 2 million, and that's large. Now, again, hopefully it's never that large, but, you know, student numbers, we'll keep updating. You've been getting, you know, monthly updates, and we'll see what we can do. Cause that looks to be a chunk of it on, you know, but yeah, we'll be back.
Yeah, I think what I am maybe most excited about is seeing that our reserves didn't dip, because I know we were all very worried about that at one time. So how far we would have to go into the reserve. So to see that just a little scoosh up is pretty nice.
And food service, I think, was another one just at quick glance that produced more, which I'm not going to say, you know, free lunch, breakfast, yeah, you know, but we'll get you some info.
All right. All those in favor of approving the audit, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.2 is to approve the contract for copier and print service as presented and attached. And take a motion, and then we can have, in a second, then we can have any discussion if we want. There are things in board book and of course, conversation.
I'll second.
Questions and discussion.
So in front of you, attached, we put a document together, and it lists going forward, because one of the solutions, is to purchase ABM out if you go with Marco, a few months down the road. So that's why I list, you know, we're under contract through, the end of July. So that's why on ABM's, it lists what we're paying right now, for each month. And then their proposal going forth, which, and again, just throwing it out, we asked for them to come in and give bids, both groups, or give proposals, I should say, with what we have. I think, and I'm gonna use the tech committee, you know, I think the number of printers we feel is sufficient. I think that's a fair statement, and Jason, you can, help me down the road here. So both did. Marco did, if you look on the right side down on the bottom, they recommended, another copier in 3 of the buildings. Again, we didn't ask for it. We're not gonna turn it down. It's included in their price. They also, one thing Marco did, they recommended I'm gonna say an upgrade, at least in their mind, an upgrade to the, printer in the copier / printer in the, counselor's office, sorry, thank you. So that's in there. So we started looking at price. We have Canon right now, the Canon quote, you know, for whatever reason went up. So they actually ABM gave 2. We didn't list Canon on here because we're really not considering it with, it went up, you know, things happen. And so we accepted the Kyocera, we accepted both of them, but we're comparing to Kyocera. They did give 3 companies for us to reach out to, or 3 schools to reach out to. We did that. And I did mention to the rep, one, and again, it is what it is. I'm speaking. One said they wouldn't do it again. They went from Canon to Kyocera for the savings. They are working. They have been serviced, but the lady and Jason and Jillian and were in the office when we made that call. Another person was fine with them that we checked up. It's the only thing he's ever used. You know, they work, and again, we trust they will work. And then the third one was not happy. And again, I didn't talk. Jason talked with that person. We did do a little more checking. One place would not recommend, and again, it's all, you know, doing check, would not recommend for a school our size. That's all I can tell you. I mean, I trust ABM has serviced. If you went that route, I trust they will service. The Marco, Conic Minolta, they gave us numerous places to check as well. And we did some background for the most part. Didn't get, I mean, do they break down? Everything breaks down, just like a Ford, Chevy, Dodge, you know, and the services piece of it. We got thumbs up as far as the references we checked. We didn't check, there were probably 8 or 9. We didn't check all of them. The group looking at it together is recommending, they feel the Kyocera or the Conic Minolta is a higher quality. Now, again, it's possibly debatable, but, and with the extra copiers, felt it was a better deal over the 5-year. And the proposal, it's off by a month. I'm just being honest, and that's why if you see in the money breakdown, the difference is actually 2,749. We tacked 1 month on because Marco was, I'm not gonna say an off, but that's the way it ended up. Overall, 5 years, it's $1,400 a year difference. So money wise, kind of like the audit, that 18,000 on expense, it's about as close as you're ever going to get money wise. It's what you think is the best deal. Again, I'm going to speak, both have people locally, whether you consider local, not, I mean, employees. I think the districts used both of them in the past. I can't speak back to Marco years ago. I think they're both good companies, but what's in front of you is what our group came up with.
So the main reason not wanting to go with ABM is just the type of copier?
Type of copier was one, and again, there was a piece of service, and then again, I appreciate Brian's, you know, remark. Up until the paper cut issue, I don't know if we would have had, you know, ABM had serviced and done their stuff. It was a little disappointing, if that's the right way to say, when, again, we've spoke to it, bygones be bygones, 2 days before school, we had a problem, and there's a solution that could have been helped. I'll be honest, Marco ended up helping us with the solution. So that, I mean, that again was a plus on their side. Again, all they asked is that they could bid next time. We don't owe them anything, and obviously that is was allowed. Not that we wouldn't have allowed anyway, but and again, things happen. That's not the end all be all, but it was a piece of it.
So I don't think it's the only thing. Like if you're looking at this analysis sheet, or I'm not taking it as the only thing.
Yeah.
There's, you know, additional services that you're suggesting would be helpful as far, well, I mean, it is the technology group who's bringing this forward.
Correct.
So there's 5 points here that talk about the different services that they're going to be bringing that we don't currently have.
Correct. And now the comment, could we go back to ABM? Would they throw in other printers? We didn't do that, I'm just being honest because it's one of those that we asked for proposals. This is what we got.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like I say, I'm not going to speak for them because, yeah, they maybe would or won't, but this is what each side put forward.
I don't want to get the two companies into a proposal war, so Kevin, I'm gonna ask you this question. ABM has analog lines, for 60 months. There's a charge to that. There's nothing under Marco, so what's the difference?
They're going to they're switching to what's called gold fax, where you fax through the copier. And again, can ABM do that? Possibly. Yeah, I mean, and so in essence, that's why it's on that side, is assuming we continue the way we are, it's $140 a month for that fax line. Like I say, I'm guessing their machines could, if you wanted to go down that route. It wasn't put in as part of the proposal to go away from the fax line. And it's one thing Marco recommended. 4 fax lines, yeah. There's one in each building. So we would, and I guess in my mind, faxing from the scanner, through email is the way we're going nowadays. I mean,
Before the beginning of the year, were there any other issues, like with service or any of the other items with IBM or ABM? No?
The most, if it breaks, they fix it.
They don't have. It's in board book. The analysis sheet.
yeah, it was attached.
Everybody can see it,
Should be.
public can see it.
If it's in board book, it's,
So why are we allowing a company to buy out one of our other contracts?
because it's typically what that has happened in the past with copiers, is they come in, when you start going, if they want to buy it out, they can. And it would be that piece is a savings to you. It's happened in the past.
And I get that, but I mean, I don't want the district to get into the business of, you have a contract with Brandon, now Amanda's gonna come in and buy my contract out. That's bad business. So I just, that's where I'm held up here a little bit. I don't care how good a business is, and you're just gonna.
Cell phones are doing it now though.
Yeah,
Brandon.
we're gonna keep, how often is this gonna happen and be in front of the board again? 2 years from now, ABM's gonna be in front of the board and with.
I think
and say, we'll buy out Marco.
And I was told,
I mean, I know it's a cutthroat business, but.
Yeah.
No,
It's been typically 4.5 or I don't think we've ever had seen.
right.
I mean, even when we went at Marco's.
We didn't get any other bids. I mean, these were the two.
the two. Yeah.
And so the technology group is suggesting Marco.
That is what they recommended, correct?
What if these new lines don't work? I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm not,
You mean the fax thing?
yep. What's it gonna cost us? A bunch of T and M, or can we guarantee that it's not?
Well, I mean, it's over the internet. That's what
Well,
we're
right.
doing is
As we sit up here and half the time our email doesn't work either. So I'm just challenging. That's my job to challenge.
no, I'm with you. I
don't wanna
mean,
get the district is in something that, I don't know. I'm all for going for the recommendation of the technology group. And I'm not
I guess
on that, but I want to make sure that that group has thought about every little thing that may happen.
We don't, so in going around to each school, they don't fax a ton anymore. It's not like the old days where the fax machine was always going, right? So this district office was maybe 10 pages a month. The most is the elementary, and some schools still send a few records that way.
But
And
now
that,
New one, it just goes to the email and you send it, you
Correct.
scan it and it goes to your email.
correct.
And I think that's what everybody does in the business world now, or is moving
Yes.
towards that direction.
Correct.
I was, Kevin, I'm just playing devil's.
yeah, no, I appreciate,
I'm certainly, when it comes to recommendation from a committee, we have committees for a reason, so.
And
What about, here it says we're adding additional printers or copiers and printers, it looks like. But wouldn't we be trying to cut costs on?
but again, they're included, so theoretically, it's placement, so people don't have to go as far. I don't, there's no reason our copy number should go up, because that's what we were allocated so many copies, per contract, and again, that was updated and adjusted. So I mean, it's more of a convenience piece for staff. Like I said, theoretically, we didn't ask for any more.
Sure.
Because you know what, they've worked and Jason, Jill, and the others that, were involved, we have backup in each building because things do break. I mean, it's irrelevant. I don't care what company it is, we're gonna have some downtime.
Any other questions or discussion on this topic? Now we're gonna take a vote. Okay. All those in favor of using Marco for copier and print services, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
5-1, motion carries. Okay, 8.3, authorize administration to secure a used school bus. A used 2018 bus from North Central. Bus and equipment for $31,175 as presented and attached in board book.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or discussion on the used bus?
And the only caveat, like I say, this is about 2 weeks out, so assuming it's approved, we will move forward tomorrow. If it's not available, not available. But, and the other thing is, like I say, it looks good. It's coming from our bus vendor who we've worked through. So Darren will go over, take a look at it, make sure, it's everything that say. I don't think the bus company is really, looking to give us a limit. It was a lease bus is my understanding, so it's off lease and, we think a good way to go for starters here. And we lost another bus today just for whatever, again, I know it's just, and it was one of the ones that's orange on the sheet. Again, it's a hose that went, but they're just getting wore out.
Would we have to purchase security for these, or would we just transfer it over from one of our existing?
Say again, purchase.
Cameras? Security? Would we have to purchase that in addition to service?
I guess I didn't ask. I'm guessing an 18 bus has cameras on it. I guess I didn't ask. If not, technically you could take, if assuming one of our older ones you could take off, but
Just move it over?
and just so the board's aware, Cody's actually working on a grant to upgrade. And again, we'll see if we get it. Some of our cameras and DVRs and things are old still, and so, I mean, it's just like any other technology. You're not going to get probably 15, 17 years out of the cameras and technology on these buses either. We're going to have to plan for replacements just like you do, cameras in here or the computers. So, I didn't ask, I can ask, but I would guess we would work with,
Yeah.
What's the trade-in? What are we trading in?
Right now, we're not gonna, all they give you is $1,000. If we can keep the extra bus for time being, as long as we don't have to put a ton of money, because like one of these, we just can't put, 10 grand in, like this one that went down again. It's been down several times. It's leaking oil, but, we can limp it along, even if it's the bus that goes back and forth from CMS, in the spring. We're gonna keep it for time being. We can trade them at any time we're trading something, but you get nothing.
So my question would be, so I made the motion. I'm wondering if I shouldn't amend that motion if this one's not available.
We'll keep an eye for something else
Well,
used.
That's what I mean. So,
Okay.
so if, I don't know, board members, who seconded?
Eric?
I did.
What are your thoughts if I amend it and then we put like a cap on it to look?
Well, I mean, that would be fine. I mean,
It doesn't have to come, then it doesn't have to come back.
that would be okay.
Unless they're just, if it's gone, it's gone.
Well, I mean, if it's gone, we're gonna start looking and
Look
keep
for another
looking.
one.
Yeah, we'll look for something else, I mean, we meet, I say fairly regularly, every 2 weeks, I would think.
Okay, I'll leave it as is.
Because I think even knowing if you support it, if we could find another for around 30,000, I could probably guarantee the group that the board would support it.
I'll just leave it.
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor, to secure the used school bus, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.4 is to authorize the administration to place an order for a 2025 Bluebird passenger bus. This would be a new one for almost $127,000 as presented and attached in board book.
I'll motion for this.
I'll second.
Questions and discussion on the new bus?
And again, looking at the inventory, there's 17 buses right now. We would like to get to 18. There's 12 regular route. We would like to get to 13. We have two routes that are fairly late. One getting 5:30 to 6 o'clock, and that's just leaving at 3. So we'd like to get back to splitting a route, and we would take one of our used buses right now, our spares, put it back in session. That's another reason for trying to get a used. We're getting close. Every time we get close, we lose a driver, but we have one coming back and we have one actually testing. So that's the hope. The piece being, again, used looks good, but at some point with 17 buses, you almost have to replace one a year. And so that's the idea there. The quote you have in here is at least minimum 12 months out is what they're telling us right now. So that's the idea of coming to you. And I'm guessing this has happened before, that you approve before we actually do our budget. But the idea being, we should
I don't know
probably,
how many times that's happened, but it should. So I think.
well, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, yeah.
The date down here is February. Is this price still?
My understanding is good. It's good. So,
So if we agree on it and the price is different,
it would have to come back to you unless it went down or something. But I mean,
Right. Take a vote. All those in favor of placing an order for a 2025 school bus, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.5 is to approve the 2024-2025 seniority list as presented and attached in board book. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on this?
was that Josh or Eric? I'm sorry,
That's me.
Josh. That's
Right. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.6 is to accept donations to the school district.
I'll make a motion to accept a donation from Joyce Zach to the high school for the Monty Zach Scholarship in the amount of $500.
I'll second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.0, payment of claims and accounts.
I'll move to approve the payment of K-12 bills numbers 128261 through 128346 in the amount of $231,809.16.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on paying the bills? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10.0, board member comments. Eric, I'll start with you.
I don't have anything tonight.
I don't have anything.
Amanda?
I just wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks. Brandon?
I'd say same as Amanda, happy Thanksgiving, but I guess I think we've only seen the preliminary audit, but I think you should be in order for not only the board, but administration, the building leaders and staff. If that indeed is the case, that we were able to hold strong on our budget. We've sat here, we had to make some difficult decisions, but also I'm guessing that the building leaders have had to make some difficult decisions when it comes to budgets. So if the preliminary audit is indeed correct,
yeah.
kudos to everybody. So
Yeah.
thank you. I mean, that's. what we're
Again,
trying to do,
I'm
and-
new. This is you guys. I'm not taking, I'd love to take credit, but
But I mean, we're holding strong, and I think, that's been a struggle when I had talked about that 2020 moving on and getting those federal funds.
Yeah.
We brought it down in 23, and you can see that it's still down in 24, so.
I think and I'm just going to say very fair upgrades to contracts last year. I think it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, there's needs going on. It's not a big windfall. I've told several of you. Yeah, I mean,
We're not
but-
holding a huge reserve. We're holding the recommended reserve.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
so no, it's better than an alternative.
Right. Yep. I don't have any more comments either. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving as well. And Brandon, said what I wanted to say about the audit, so thank you to everybody. 11.0, the next Board of Education meeting is scheduled for December 9th, 2024 at 5:30.
And it's the only one in
It's the
December,
only one in
right?
December, yep. So 12.0 is to adjourn the meeting. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Are we doing the working session for the superintendent stuff